Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Hello and welcome once again to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hello, Mozz. Welcome back to Superconnectivity. You are going to give us some connections that we have been waiting for. Inside information, or at least information as a person who has actually seen the films of
Avatar 2, The Way of Water.
Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Is it as wonderful as everyone has been saying it is, Mozz? Is this the greatest film ever made?
Sure, it was billed that way, but that wasn't my experience with it. I found it to be intensely draggy and boring at times, and I feel like a lot of care wasn't put into the dialogue. The first movie was incredible. It made you feel things. The characters cared about these things. Here, it didn't seem like you were actually watching a story. It felt like you were watching somebody retell a story, just giving you the basic plot points of this happened and then this happened and then this happened, devoid of any sort of context emotionally. I didn't find my way to caring about any of the characters. I didn't care about what happened to any of them. And their dialogue between each other was not very nuanced or interesting. It was basically, we're going to do this now. Okay, we're going to do this. It just seemed like you took a placeholder script that said, insert interesting plot point here. And somehow they left that parentheses in the actual dialogue. Insert interesting plot point here. It all just seemed like 5 minutes after 5 minutes, there was a Martha moment and another Martha moment and another Martha moment. And slogging through all of that was too much, even for the brilliant visuals to compensate for. Because when it was working, it was beautiful. The underwater stuff was amazing. I just wished I cared about what they were doing while they were in there. It might as well have been like a 3-hour version of what's that circus with the trapeze artists and whatnot that
Cirque du Soleil?
Cirque du Soleil. It felt like Cirque du Soleil. There was just as much character development in this movie as there was in one of the Cirque du Soleil shows. Every character you encountered was more annoying than the last. I was like, no, I hate that guy the most. Oh, no, I hate her the most. Oh, no, that's definitely the most annoying character. That was the conversation I found myself having. Just, can we get to the good stuff? And we never really did. Even when it popped off and it was supposed to be like this big action sequences, I still felt like they held back. Like, remember that time in Avengers when Hulk finally gets to fight Thanos and it was just such a wet fart of a scene?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. There was so many moments where, like, okay, these big giant whales are going to come alive. They're going to break their bond of passivity and they're going to, come to terms with the big warlike creatures that they are and do something cool. But none of that ever happens. The villain was the same tired old retreading of the same thing before. I don't know how they cast this dude as the main human character, the old bad guy's son, but he was just a god-awful actor. Like, as the CGI did better acting than this kid.
I'm trying to remember the actress I'm looking up right now.
The young kid with the blonde dreadlocks. God, what an awful actor.
Would that be Sam Worthington? Jake Sully?
No. Sam Worthington's was decent in it. Sully's character was great.
Okay. See, we got Joel David Moore, Giovanni Ribisi.
Miles. Oh, Spider.
Oh, like, was it Miles Teller or?
Not Miles Teller. The character's name is Miles. He's named after his father, the bad guy in the original Avatar.
Okay.
Jack Champion is the kid's name. Horrible.
Oh, well, maybe he just had a horrible script. I mean, I hate to.
It was indeed a horrible script, but like, even when the moments where he's not speaking, when he's just reacting to things, it's just so like, he's like, oh, I'm supposed to be upset. A lot of this, you know, it's like, not
a little too much overacting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see okay, so I'm gonna be mean here for a minute, Mozz.
I just was for like a good,
Well, no, I'm gonna be okay. So the first Avatar had many similar arguments placed against it. You know, simplistic plotline, simplistic ideas, yada yada yada, retreads of old stories we've heard 1,000 times. Do you think that you have, and of course, you know, that came out years ago. We were all much younger, much more excited about what was happening. Do you think that Avatar would stand up to your scrutiny today in the way that Avatar 2 is not?
It does, and it did, because a few months ago now, they re-released Avatar in 3D in the movie theater, and I went to see it in preparation for this one because I wanted to see if I still enjoyed it as much as I did the first time. And I got to be honest with you, I had a ball and it might have been just as simplistic a story, but that story meant something to these characters. When they spoke to each other, things were on the line. They cared about things, and I cared about what happened to these people. I cared about why they cared about the things that they cared about. And the magic of the world came through because of its reflection in the eyes of the people in the scene. There was none of that nuance here. It was literally just, okay, we're going to do this scene. This happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. It really was like, like a bad storyteller telling you a good story they heard somebody else tell them.
Yeah. So, man, that is actually disappointing to me. I mean, I did not expect to be blown away. I have not seen any of the Avatars. Like I said, I think I just missed the window where this would have been a cultural touchstone for me. Cause I'm a little older than you, Mozz. You know, and I think if I had been younger, that would have been a film that I went to and I was like, oh wow. And I know I would have been blown away. You know, I always just miss all of the big spectacles that, James Cameron does, with the exception of Terminator. Terminator, I was right in the meaty spot for, 1 and 2. But you know, Titanic, it just didn't hit for me. And then Avatar, it felt like, and again, it to me, it just felt like bigger and bigger budgets to do more and more amazing scenes, but that just didn't capture me because, and to be fair, I'm not the target audience. I guess I might have been the target audience for Avatar, but you know, I certainly wasn't it for Titanic. And I just missed it, and I don't ever fault anyone for liking it because, you know, if it's your bag, man, enjoy it. But I guess, you know, my biggest thing with this Avatar 2 is, it's doing well at the box office.
Good for them.
And yeah, good for them. And I'm hoping that it does, you know, I'm hoping that people are going to support it because I think that, you know, when you go out and you make when you put a lot of money into a film that people like and people are anticipating, it's good when they see it and enjoy it. And right now its Rotten Tomatoes score is good. It's not getting the pushback that a lot of films get nowadays. Although there is talk about how its box office is not as good as they had hoped. And there had been talk about how, because of the cost of this, that it's going to need to be one of the top grossing films of all time to actually make its money back. But then again, I don't know that that's necessarily impossible for it to do. You know? But
I walked into that movie theater ready to be blown away. Like I had all these ideas of like, man, the last time I saw somebody do, the cinematic tricks this guy is using here. And I was blown away then when I saw Gemini Man by Ang Lee with Will Smith, because that was shown in movie theaters at 120 frames a second. And it looked crazy. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. And at certain times it was too real. It just pulled you out of the reality of the story, which hurt it. But in scenes where it worked, when there was large action sequences and explosions going on in 120 frames next to your face, and a motorcycles flying off of like this wall coming at you, it felt so visceral and real and immediate. The sense of danger you felt was so heightened, and I was not prepared for how I was going to emotionally feel because of this visual stimuli. So I was so excited, and it wasn't 120 frames. It was only going to be like twice the frame rate, so like 48 frames a second. But even then, remembering how 3D felt with that technology, I was so excited about it. And like, they take you an hour and a half to even get to the good stuff. First of all, you're like, okay, you're asking a lot, but fine, I'll give it to you. But even then, when you get there, they keep teasing you with it. It's like, man, you have me here for 3 hours. I'm not going anywhere. Why do you need to tease me? Just give me what I want.
Okay. I mean, so that's a strong argument, man. So you definitely feel that there was a lot of filler. So let me ask you this. If the film had been shorter,
I might have enjoyed it.
You might have enjoyed it more.
Maybe even not still, because it wasn't the length of the film that was the problem. It was the care that they took with each moment. Every single moment felt like an in-between moment.
So let me ask you this. Now, here's an interesting question, because I think that we get this a lot when we talk about any kind of CGI-heavy film, and the idea of the uncanny valley. And when you're getting into this hyper-realistic filmmaking, are we getting into that uncanny valley of the images? But I want to actually talk about something that I think a lot of people often don't think about, which is the uncanny valley of performance. Where, I mean, it's obviously a real person, but what they're saying is so... It sounds like something people might say, but not like something people would say.
Right. Everything was a caricature of a trope. It wasn't just a trope, but it was a caricature of a trope.
So you feel it really was not like a deconstruction of it. It was just...
No, it just felt like he was so high on the technical aspects being able to overshadow everything. For my purposes, when I go see a movie, of course, every movie is going to have tons of nitpicky things that you can glob onto and be like, I didn't enjoy that part. But if you tell a good story, if you keep me placated, and if you keep me caring more about what happens rather than how it looks, then I'll forgive a whole host of problems. Just keep me entertained, right? But, it's like one of these, sometimes when you go to like these poetry readings and you get like these super, I'm so cool, that's what it felt like. He was too high on his own supply. He thought his poetry was great, but it was really, really just regurgitated stuff that everyone's ever said. You're not unique. You're not an individual snowflake. This is stuff that everybody's been saying forever. And God, this is tiresome. That's what it felt like. An artist who was too high on himself.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it blows me away that this is your take, because, again, I haven't seen it, but I just knew you were a fan. I was really excited because I knew you were even telling me last episode, like, yeah, I'm going to see it this, and then I'm going to go see it again.
Yep. I was so
Did you see it?
No, absolutely. I get halfway through it. I was sitting with my brother and I was like, hey man, should we just leave now? And then like, it's freaking 3 hours. What if we leave now and then we'll get tickets again and we'll come back another day and see the second half? And he was like, all right. And then we're like, it's always halfway through. And then we slogged through it. And my God, I would have been so annoyed if I had to go back the second time and then realize, no, you were right to have walked out to begin with. This was not worth your time. There was no way I was going to go see it again.
So I'm going to be mean to here, Mozz. Are you telling me you did not watch the full 3 hours?
No, I did, but I was really strongly considering walking out and then watching it again. But I stuck it out. And now with hindsight, I would have been so much more mad if I wasted 2 nights
Yes. But you did see it once in its entirety.
Yeah.
You gave it its fair shot, and and they lost their repeat view on you.
Yeah, man. And they lost like someone who was like proselytizing the merits of this movie that I hadn't even seen yet. That's who they lost.
Yeah, and that's bad.
Yeah.
See, that is what is going to be like this thing, because, it is dominating this week. There's no doubt about it. It's dominating this weekend. And it's going to be the only new film in the theaters for most of the rest of the year. Yeah. So it's a good chance it's going to make its money back. But not for nothing. What really makes something like this a blockbuster is the repeat views. It is the people that want to go back and see it again.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough first-time viewers to maintain that passion, because you get all the passionate people that first week, and then you'll get secondary passionate people that second week, and that's fine, but you also want to have those first-time passionate people coming back, because those first-time passionate people is what make that second week, the secondarily passionate people, look better, because they said, it maintained the strong dominance at the box office.
Yeah.
If this thing drops, if, God help you, Black Panther 2 comes back and just gets another week where it's number one at the box office again, that would be so horrible for this film.
Yeah. I mean, if they release actually, it's still playing. I would rather go see that movie again.
And the thing is that, and I don't want to schadenfreude it, because I don't want any film to do bad, but I do wonder if that's like a real threat for this. I mean, here's what I'm going to say. Right now, its reviews are solid. Its score is good on Rotten Tomatoes, for whatever that means. And it did dominate the box office, and it's got a global box office. And, there is that statement about global box office which I think is kind of diminutive of other countries, where they're saying, well, you don't have to translate the visuals. But I think that you still need a story to contain the visuals. You have the same thing.
Although perhaps in the international market, there is a severe disconnect as it is, as far as the performance is concerned, because they're hearing it dubbed or reading it subtitled, and there is a disconnect to begin with, that maybe that part might not be so noticeable for the international market. And for those people, the visuals are enough to carry them through, perhaps.
So I guess that's the hope for it, I guess. It's like, if English is your first language, this may not be the film for you. Yeah. When we dub this thing into French or Italian, this is going to be a great film.
Yeah. I would advise, though, maybe you can get somebody better to dub the language so that it makes more sense. Maybe I'll watch it in Spanish and I'll like it better if they work on changing the dialogue and make them say different things.
To be fair, that often happens. And that's sometimes a reason why films that don't do well in one country do much better in another country, because there's just a better translator who's like, okay, see, and it's sort of like, and it's sort of the old Marvel method, where you have these drawings and this other writer has to put the words into these boxes to make it make sense. And it doesn't matter that the pictures aren't following the logic that the story is supposed to, but now they have to translate it in a way that's going to make it make sense and have it meet with the words that all the actors are saying. Oof. And that is probably one of the most amazing skills anybody ever does, is dubbing films and writing for dubbed films and creating a script for a dubbed film. Because, they have to also still tell the same story, although often they do not. So that is always an interesting thing that you'll come across when, I know that in I know that this is an interesting thing about the film Casablanca. When it was dubbed into German, they completely remove all references to World War II. And again, for various reasons, because I know that they don't want to hype Nazis in Germany after the war. But as a result, it was considered a really horrible, bad film. And no one knew why everyone talked so great about it. And it was because every version they saw had a completely rewritten script that just ruined like what the drama of the film was. But one could imagine a reverse of that situation where a film that maybe is not so good gets risen up because they happen to get that, Ernest Hemingway of film dubs, and he just writes it out and says, this is how this story makes sense now. And, and if we edit it for TV, it might even be better.
That would be nice. As it stands, it just seemed like he said, we don't need a budget for a writer. I can write this. Yeah, just have her do that. No. That'll work. I'm sure that'll work. No, trust me. The effects guys, they'll take care of it. Nobody will even notice. Nobody's paying attention to their words. Nobody cares what they say. It's me they're there to see. They want to see my angles. They want to see my cameras. They want to see my eye and telling the guy how this whale should look. Isn't that pretty? Look at how pretty this is. Oh, don't pay attention to what they're saying and why they're doing the things that they're doing. Nah, we'll just place filler angsty teenager. Place filler sibling rivalry. Place filler this. It's just... Ugh.
So just out of curiosity, what is the plotline? So obviously they were originally coming for the unobtainium.
Oh, this is even better. So there's these giant whale creatures in the ocean that some of the water Navi have made bonds and treaties and whatnot with, right? And so the humans got there, and then they said, obtainium's there, unobtainium's there, but this guy discovered that you can hunt these whales, and in their brain is this certain golden chemical that completely reverses aging.
That's good.
It's kind of cool, right? And then he pulls this vial like this out of it, and then he goes, this is worth $80 million. And I'm like, $80 million? For the secret of the fountain of youth? It doesn't make any sense. It's like you're going on this wholesale murder of killing this, and it takes you, ships upon ships being lost in the sea to catch the stupid thing, and then you drain the thing out of it. And for some reason, the Spider Kid is walking around with the vial the whole time, and you think, okay, he's gonna do something with it. He's gonna save somebody who died. Nothing happens with it. It's just one dead end after another dead end after.
So it's about whaling. Okay.
Yes.
It's 18th century whale. It's an 18th century whaling story. Cause I had heard references to Moby Dick, which I didn't understand. But now I guess it makes sense. And I guess, if you're going to steal, don't steal from Melville. Cause everyone knows what Melville did. It's like, But no, so there's a whole whaling something. I hadn't even imagined that it was about whaling.
It's so bad.
But if the whales are sentient.
Right. The whales are pacifists. There was so much of this heavy-handed, but it was so much that he didn't even really know what political agenda he was supporting. He said, just put one of those political agendas in there. No, okay, that's good. You got any more political agendas? Just throw a political agenda. Don't try to treat any of it with any nuance or care like you actually care about the agenda you're spewing your care about. But just, throw one of those political agendas in there. And every now and then there was just like a random peppering of something that was half thought out and be like, hey, women empowerment, let's have a pregnant lady on the battlefield. That'll do it. And when they asked about it, I just thought it was like the height of female empowerment. What could be more empowered than a pregnant woman? We figured we'd put one of those on the battlefield. That's the amount of thought that went into the supposed political statements he was trying to make. It was just like a weak sauce attempt at everything.
Yeah, see, it's funny you mentioned the pregnant woman in the battlefield because that's actually one of the items that is it's a possible aspect of the new Sony Into the Spider-Verse trailer is that the Jessica Drew character might be pregnant during the storyline, which of course is something that happened in the comics, that in her most recent round of comics she was pregnant while she was being a superhero. And I don't think they've still yet to tell us who the father is.
I guarantee the Spider-Verse folks will handle it with the care that it deserves and will tell a story worth telling that actually is a story of empowerment in a beautiful way. This was not This was just haphazardly throwing stuff in there, then hoping people will be like, oh, that's the part I care about.
Well, you know, and again, to make a point, this is something that Fargo did years ago, where they had the main female protagonist be pregnant during the film. And of course, it is actually kind of cool and empowering that, there's this pregnant lady who's the protagonist of the film, you know, but at no point is her pregnancy the point of the film.
Right.
It's that she's pregnant and she's doing her job, because women can be pregnant and do their jobs. And that's
she was really good at her job. She was really, really good at her job.
Exactly. And so, these are all these things that, you know, I don't know why The Rock is getting so much hate when Avatar is right there. Yeah, it's okay. You know what? It's everybody likes to hate on a guy who's doing well. And that's why I don't want to hate on James Cameron here. I don't want to hate on him.
No.
But it's just like, you know, it feels like on some level, maybe we were hoping for more than was really should have been expected from it. You know?
It should have been a sign, though, that when 2 weeks before the movie comes out, they asked him, hey, man, you put out a 3-hour movie. When should we take our pee breaks? And an artist who cares about the vision he spent so many decade putting together would tell you, no, take care of that beforehand. You need to watch every frame. This is great. Yeah, whenever you want. Yeah, you'll probably come back to see it again. The arrogance.
Yeah, that is a lot of arrogance. I mean, but I guess, you know, and again, not for nothing, from a budgetary perspective, he needs people to come back again. Which is like, take your break whenever you need to and come back. Although, but then again, that diminishes the, like, then why don't I just, like, wait for it to come out on cable?
Yes.
When I can pause it.
You just make it 2 movies.
Yeah. Not for nothing, that's actually a good argument to make.
Right?
It's like,
because then you could actually take the care to get me from point A to B to C, not to say, okay, we were at point A, B, C. Come on. No. We're going somewhere better. Trust me. Don't worry about point C. We're going to point F. Trust me. You're going to love point F. Right. Yeah. But don't be such a rush to get there. You didn't need to stuff all this into one, 3-hour snooze fest.
Yeah. Wow. Snooze fest. I mean, these are harsh words.
Yeah.
And,
I was itching to leave by the end. Like, I could not wait for it to be over. And at one point, there's like, it seems to be over, but there's still going on. Like in Lord of the Rings, right? The last half hour of the last movie where everybody's just buddy. I love you, man. No, I love you more. No, I love you more. Right? There was like a whole half hour. I was like, guys, get up. We don't need this. We're done. Why? Why are we still here? And that's why I was like, I could not wait. I had my popcorn up. I have my jacket on. I'm like, come on, is this over? Can we go? That's how I felt by the end of it. I could not wait to get out of the movie theater.
Yeah. And that is just never good. That is just never good. So here, Mozz, I'm going to ask you, make a prediction for me. Is this going to have a drop off? Is this going to collapse?
I think significantly. I mean, they can only artificially pump up the Rotten Tomatoes numbers for so long before people actually start talking and people start actually shying away from the influence of these YouTube influencers that are convincing everybody it's so great because, in my opinion, they're probably getting paid to do so. Or it's like, those old karate no-touch masters whose disciples are so hypnotized by them, they pretend to be flipped over at the flick of a head. Maybe these people are just, oh, Cameron can do no wrong. I must not have. So let me look harder. That was, no, I see the point. I'm smart enough. I'm one of the smart people, and everybody's just trying to convince everybody they have clothes on.
Yeah. There's a great, I think it was a Saturday Morning Breakfast, cartoon I read recently, which was, in the empire of the emperor's new clothes, where only the wise can see the emperor's new clothes. And like the one professor in the tower saying, I wish I could see the, emperor's dingle. It works, but actually just that we're no wise people in the kingdom. At the end of the day, like I said, I got no dog in this fight. I wish Mr. Cameron the best. He is my favorite of all the people named Cameron in Hollywood. Although, to be fair, most of the other people named Cameron are not that good.
Cameron Diaz is pretty awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. First name Cameron. Yes.
Fair enough.
First, I'm thinking of Kirk Cameron. So,
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, there's like, oh, yeah. It's, I don't want to wish a pox upon their house, but you know what?
Yeah.
I hope that when they pick up a bottle of soda, it's a little sticky on the outside. Just a little, just like, it's, yeah, not like it's like a big thing. It was like, every time I pick up a bottle of soda, it's a little sticky on the outside. But,
it's a good safe curse.
Yeah, well, it's like, we all pick up bottles of soda. It's a little sticky because, I guess a little soda spilled on it at some point.
I think my karma can handle that curse.
Exactly. Yeah, but James Cameron, and I like him as a filmmaker. I'm not going to say he's a bad filmmaker, in any sense of the word, but I do think he maybe had a bit of, what you might say is like sometimes when you're a filmmaker, when you're an auteur, you will have people just give you money to make a film. And they will just trust that because you've made good films that were expensive and it returned money, you'll do so again. And they don't give you the reins that you need. Which is, honestly, for what it's worth, and old person comments aside about him, I do like, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Terry Gilliam. I like Terry Gilliam's films because none of them have ever been successful by any stretch of the imagination. They are all big budget, spectacular failures, but they're all good films. And people give him money because they know he makes good films. And it takes a long time, but they do make a profit eventually. And, I like that. And I think that, like people like Snyder and Cameron, I think that sometimes they get too much hype given to them and it becomes this thing. Well, now here's even more money, do even more nonsense.
Yeah.
But no one's going to rein them in. And you always need someone, you need somebody there. You need an accountant.
Yep.
A script person just saying this does not make sense in what we've done. We don't have the continuity in this scene. This is too expensive. We need to find a way to shoot this cheaper. And, and again, for Terry Gilliam, that man can find a way to make anything cheaper. Orson Welles, as honestly, never a popular artist, but always an artist who was popular. Just the idea that, I'll find a way to do it on the cheap and we can do it. We can make a better story if we do it on the cheap.
It'll force us to make the actual melody work. Get rid of all the bells and whistles. Focus on the melody. Is the melody catchy? Then you've got a hit song. But if there's no good melody, you can dress it up with all the solos and the horn sections and the strings and blah, blah, blah. But if the melody isn't true and connect to your human soul, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's what this was missing.
I think that is a beautiful sentiment, Mozz. And I'm happy to end it on there. I do want to let people know that if they have a counter opinion, they can write to us at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. They can call us at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. If you're old enough to remember where there were letters on the number dial as well. And you can let us know your thoughts. We'll even play them on the air or read them on the air if you want us to.
Unless you're a bot.
I will happily read about how you are a lovely Latvian woman in my area that would like to speak to me. Because honestly, they're the best people. Some bots are they're just good people. I am happy to talk to you now.
Yeah, I love this movie. It deserves a 98. I am not a bot.
Yes. And of course, if you'd like to buy any of our amazing merch, like this amazing Capes and Lunatics aluminum mug, you can do so at Linktree. That's linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics. Go there, buy t-shirts, buy mugs, buy whatever the heck we have to sell. And also, if you want to give us just money for no particular reason, you can join Patreon and give us money and vote on stuff, or just give us money because you said, you know what, Mozz is a smart guy. I want to make sure this show continues. And so here's like $5 from my Cash App. Enjoy. And we would appreciate that. Mozz will talk to Phil about giving that $5. But in the meantime, if you'd like to write to me in an old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I feel like it, regardless of what you say, Mr. Musk. Whether you are the CEO or they make Snooperton Dogglestein the new CEO, who is actually trending better than, I don't know if you saw that, like, you know, he said, should I leave?
45% said stay, 56% said you should leave. And then Snoop Dogg was like, 89% said, yes, you should be the CEO of Twitter.
I honestly feel that would be the most fiscally responsible move for Twitter at this point, to make Mr. Snooperton Dogglestein the CEO of Twitter. I think that man has a vision. That man has wisdom. Look, the man has survived this one. Let me tell you a story. So my mother-in-law took my children to get a book.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever book you want to pick. You know what book my youngest, my beloved, chose? The Snoop Dogg cookbook.
Oh, let me know how that is. I've heard good things.
What's interesting? Yeah, when he thought it was interesting. Ooh, look, we got orange chicken with white rice.
Yeah, that recipe I've heard good things about. I've heard a lot of good things about his recipes. Apparently, the man really does know his flavor combination.
You know, to be fair, the man is very good friends with a convicted felon, but we're not going to hold it against him, Ms. Martha Stewart. And, you know, I would imagine he does. So, you know what? I think, so let's just start it now. Please make Snoop Dogg CEO of Twitter. I know his real name isn't Snooperton Dogglestein. That is a joke I started many years ago.
Yeah, I like it.
I love it. I was his actual real name was Snooperton Dogglestein. But he abbreviated it because, you know, you don't want to sound too ethnic as a performer. And, you know, but that's an old joke I did. But, you know, I love Snoop Dogg. He's a good rapper. I mean, he's probably done a lot of stupid things in his youth. And probably if I was famous, I'd have done stupid things in my youth too. I hope he hasn't killed anyone, but you know what? I wasn't there. I'm not going to judge. But right now he's writing cookbooks. And honestly, I think that's what Twitter needs, is someone who writes cookbooks being in charge. But anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. Yes. So follow me on the Twitter and we'll tell you how Tristan's first recipe he decides to cook from the cookbook, goes at Charlie Hesser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you. Thank you, Mozz, and thank you, Tristan. What's wrong with the shower?
It's not turning on.
Oh, it's not turning off or turning on?
Turning on. I turn it.
Okay, let me see what I can do with it in a minute.
Okay.
Children. All right. So that's the show. Actually, hey, thank you for listening to us here on Superconnectivity again. Please come back again next week and super connect with us once more. Good night.